Good morning, everyone. On your Wednesday, halfway into the work week, theme park, kiddos here in Anchorage, last day of school, so maybe some of them will be taking some summer vacations.
Yeah, no matter what your age, in a place like that, you always turn into a kid.
Magical.
I always love those little theme park visits during the summer, even during the hottest parts of the summer.
Yeah.
It's just nice to get out and enjoy some of that fun. As far as those temperatures this morning, we are waking up in the 40s. We're still holding on to some of that scattered rainfall. Of course, some of the heaviest activity stay confined to coastal regions. We did see some thunderstorms firing yesterday afternoon and evening through parts of the valley. We're currently sitting at 44 degrees to start off your Wednesday morning. Elsewhere across South Central, you can see some locations dipping into the 30s. There's those rain showers that remain with us. And like we were talking about yesterday, not everyone will see the rain, but we are still holding on to that chance for some showers throughout the day. And of course, those winds will continue to remain quite gusty. We did see those winds really beginning to pick up yesterday, late yesterday afternoon. But those rain showers remain with us. We'll just see some isolated to scattered activity throughout the day. Much like yesterday, not everyone will see that rainfall, but we will keep with some of this wet weather. And we've already seen a couple of hundredths of inches of rainfall out towards coastal regions. And looking through the remainder of today, per usual, Prince William Sound, this is where we could see the potential for up to an inch of a rain accumulation, while areas from Cordova to Seward see significantly less, but still holding on to a decent shot for seeing some rain. And inland locations, we'll see a lot less activity in terms of that rainfall. We're only talking about some spotty to isolated showers for inland locations. But yes, those winds continue to remain quite gusty through the remainder of today, max winds of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. Some good news in the sunshine department. While we will sit up under mostly cloudy to overcast skies through the day, we'll see a gradual return to some sunshine as we close out this week, calling it partly sunny skies as we head into Thursday and Friday. I'll have more on that in that 7-day forecast coming up.
We begin at the Capitol this morning. The legislature is not in session after a flurry of last-minute votes wrapped up in an intense finish in Juneau. Lawmakers officially adjourned just hours after overriding Governor Dunleavy's veto of House Bill 57, the major education funding bill. The bill was overridden in a 46-14 vote. Reaction has been split, with the House Majority Coalition calling it a victory for students and communities, while the governor saying the bill itself, quote, fundamentally missed the mark for Alaska's students. Now, he wrote in a prepared statement, I vetoed this bill because we cannot keep rewarding a system that resists accountability, innovation, and choice. Adding money without demanding results does a disservice to students, teachers, and Alaska's future. He also says the override does not end the conversation, but instead it raises the stakes. Now, Anchorage School Board measures remain uneasy this morning, even after the legislature overruled the governor's education funding veto. The board held its final meeting of the school year last night, just hours after that vote in Juneau. The district already approved next year's budget, but is still waiting to learn how much money it will actually receive from the state. And while the override moves things forward, the possibility of a line item veto by the governor still has some board members on edge.
I have a lot of anxiety on my heart on behalf of the 6,000 plus employees who are depending on this money to come through, as well as the thousands of community members, parents, students, employees who also may be wondering, is this a reality?
With the fiscal year ending soon, the district has little time left to make tough calls on staffing and program cuts. Even so, school leaders paused last night to celebrate excellence, honoring several outstanding teachers with this year's Denali Awards.
Denali is an Athabascan word meaning great one, and the Anchorage School District is proud to have employees that display greatness in areas of achievement, service, and dedication. The Denali Award is the highest award offered by the district.
10 teachers and staff members received the Denali Award, including coaches in the relatively new academies of Anchorage program.
2 U.S. F-16 fighter jets made a surprise emergency landing in the remote city of St. Paul out in the Bering Sea. Nearly the whole town came out to watch, including Barbara Lestenkoff, who captured this video. Eielson Air Force Base confirms the jets were from a U.S. air base on South Korea's west coast. The city manager says the planes landed safely, and as of last night, were still on the island. There was no word on what prompted the emergency or when the aircraft might depart.
This right here, the Golden Dome for America, is game changer. It's a generational investment in the security of America and Americans.
Members of Alaska's delegation are reacting to President Trump's new missile defense plan called the Golden Dome. The project, first awarded in January, would build a network of satellites to detect, track, and possibly intercept missiles. President Trump says it will cost an estimated $175 billion and be fully operational before the end of his term. A $25 billion down payment is already included in the reconciliation bill moving through Congress. Senator Dan Sullivan, speaking by phone from the White House, told Alaska's news source the plan would bring major changes to existing defense systems based in Alaska.
As you saw in this press conference, is going to lay out what we call a layered defense. Layered defense means you have basic existing infrastructure, which is almost all in Alaska. We're going to build on that. Okay? So Alaska is going to continue to get built up in terms of missile defense, but it's going to be layered in other areas, particularly in space.
We'll have more information on what's happening in D.C. surrounding GOP efforts to pass the so-called One Big Beautiful bill later in the hour. If you want more information on what the missile defense program could mean for Alaska, head to our website. The badge comes with courage, sacrifice, and sometimes heartbreak.
Across South Central Alaska, law enforcement officers gathered in Anchorage to honor those who gave everything in the line of duty. Each toll of the bell marks a loss, a somber reminder of the price paid in service to others. Officers paused to honor the 69 men and women who lost their lives in the line of duty in Alaska.
It's a day filled with emotion and meaning, with DPS Commissioner James Cockrell reflecting on why this tribute hits close to home.
No, I think this is a reminder. It's a reminder of the families that we're not going to forget them, because once you're a family of a law enforcement officer, you're a family for good. And the folks that have lost their lives with the Alaska State Troopers, they're going to be in our DPS family forever, even past me.
National Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day were last week, but DPS says they typically hold the Anchorage ceremony just before or after, so families of fallen officers can travel to the national service in Washington, D.C. The LaFrance administration is calling for stronger accountability in criminal cases, pointing to gaps in enforcement that emerged last year when the municipal prosecutor's office was operating with just 25% of its staff. It's part of a prosecution priority shift.
We were forced to prioritize prosecuting only the most serious cases, typically domestic violence and driving under the influence. Other cases, other crimes, were slipping through gaps in our justice system.
Now that's changing. She says the prosecutor's office is nearly fully staffed and the city is moving to eliminate speedy trial deadlines. At the same time, APD plans to increase enforcement on crimes like trespassing, theft, and drug dealing. But with the department still short 62 officers, Chief Sean Case says some personnel will be shifted to meet demand.
We're having to pull some of our resource out of some of our specialty units so they can go to patrol divisions so that we can maintain a staffing level that is higher than what we have been having over the last couple of years to respond to calls for service.
APD is also reviewing ways to expand and strengthen certain existing laws. Alaska's news source asked which laws may be affected, but so far the department has not responded.
Mayor Suzanne LaFrance is also taking aim at fire danger with a new ordinance that carries serious consequences. Introduced by the mayor and passed unanimously by the Anchorage Assembly last night, the measure adds criminal penalties for unauthorized fires. It specifically bans lighting fires on someone else's property without consent, on sidewalks, or during a burn ban, with penalties of up to a year in prison for violators. Starting this morning, drivers in Fairbanks will need to take a detour to reach parts of Fairbanks Memorial Hospital. A 3-month road project on Cowell Street is now underway, affecting access in and around that area. The $4.2 million project will upgrade roads, sidewalks, and traffic signals, and includes a full closure between the hospital and Airport Way. To reach the emergency room, the Department of Transportation recommends using Davis Road or Gillum Way. During construction, the Chief Andrew Isaac Health Center can be accessed from Lathrop Street, and Shoppers Forum will be reached by Frontage Road next to Airport Way.
Drivers will notice that the roadway is going to be much smoother, more accessible, and reliable. And for those who have children or students themselves, they'll notice that there will be enhanced safety precautions around the area.
The project is scheduled to wrap up by August 18th, and it marks the first phase of a two-part improvement plan, with the next round of work expected in 2028.
Up next, we continue our series about gardening in the Arctic. In Fairbanks, one farm is turning to the frozen ground to keep produce fresh. How a buried shipping container and some hay bales are helping cut costs and keep carrots crisp.
And later, major changes to Social Security are in the works, and they could affect millions of retirees. What you need to know about the new rules and who's most impacted.
We're still holding on to some showers across South Central and breezy conditions. We'll see the return to some sunshine through the close of the week. I'll have more on that, but first the sunrise. 4:56 in Anchorage, 4:18 in Juneau. Your full forecast is next.
Good morning, everyone. We are back. Thanks for joining us on a Wednesday.
Yeah, Aaron, what's our forecast looking like today?
But we're still holding on to some of those showers across South Central and, of course, some of those breezy conditions. But give it just a few more days, and we will see the return to some sunshine peaks across South Central. And, of course, that rain will continue to remain heaviest along the Gulf Coast region out towards Kodiak, where we could see over an inch of rainfall out towards Kodiak Island. 43 in McGrath. Now, that winter storm warning we did see out towards the Brooks Range and parts of the Dalton Highway, that has been allowed to expire, but we're still seeing some of that light snow accumulation through parts of the Brooks Range to start off your Wednesday morning. Some lingering activity through the interior, and of course the bulk of the precip primarily staying confined out towards the Alaska Peninsula and then areas of southwest Alaska near Bristol Bay, where we're seeing some of this heavier rainfall. In fact, you can see pushing just around the Dillingham area some of those heavier downpours that's occurring this morning. This is also where we're seeing the core of some of those stronger winds, where winds today could gust upwards of about 50 miles per hour. And so far this morning, we've seen winds anywhere from about 25 to nearly 35 miles per hour. So those winds will continue to remain quite gusty today for the Aleutians, southwest Alaska. And while we're still going to see some winds here across South Central, not going to be too terribly windy or impactful, but we will still see some winds gusting upwards of about 35 miles per hour throughout the remainder of the day. So showers stay with us across South Central. Heaviest rain primarily staying confined to the southern coastline through the remainder of today. This system will continue to fizzle out here over the next couple of days. And as we welcome in our Thursday, we'll see a lot drier weather. We'll still hold on to some isolated showers near the Gulf Coast region, but inland areas will begin to see those clouds breaking away, still calling it partly sunny to mostly cloudy skies. And then as we welcome in the close of this week, we'll see the return to mostly sunny to partly cloudy conditions. Even out towards southeast, as this system continues to weaken, it's only going to keep some isolated scattered activity in the forecast. However, heavier rain does look possible by week's end for a good portion of southeast. So drier weather for South Central as we close out this week. Some spotty showers will still be possible for coastal regions, but you can see largely expecting a stretch of some drier weather heading our way, which will provide some ample opportunities to get outdoors, soak up some of that sunshine we'll see, as we will hold on to a stretch of at least 2 or 3 days where we could see some partly cloudy conditions. We'll make it to 60 in Fairbanks today, near freezing as you head along the slope. Still seeing the potential for at least some light snow accumulation of 1 to 2 inches from Anaktuvik out towards parts of the Dalton Highway. 43 in Nome. Rain continues out towards the Aleutians. Even as that low kind of fizzles out, we've got another area of low pressure in the western Aleutians that will continue to keep that train of lows with some rain in the forecast for the island. So spotty showers today across southeast. We can see those temperatures in the lower 50s with some gusty conditions through Taya Inlet and Lynn Canal. You can see those temperatures today across South Central. Still warming into the 50s outside of coastal regions, but we'll see some of that heavier rain. As a result, you'll likely see highs staying in the mid to upper 40s. But there's those winds still gusting upwards of about 35 miles per hour throughout the day. Not everyone will see the winds and not everyone will see the rain. It's really just kind of hit or miss activity that we'll see through the remainder of your Wednesday. 53 here in Anchorage, 46 in Girdwood. That 7-day forecast still chasing that first potential 60-degree reading, which still looks possible this weekend. Memorial Day, a high of 58.
All right, looks good. Thanks, Aaron.
It's a plant sale day at Highland Mountain Correctional Center, and if you want first pick, you better get moving. This long-standing Eagle River tradition draws gardeners from all over, some lining up hours early to sport baskets and balloons grown by the women inmates themselves.
The greenhouse program teaches valuable skills and builds confidence, with DOC staff calling it restorative and good for morale.
It's so good for their morale, and it's also really restorative because they're learning a skill. They're also learning something that is a way to fill their time that helps them avoid whatever their particular issues may be that brought them into DOC.
The plant sale is at least a 30-year tradition, and it runs through Friday, but at the pace plants are selling, it may wrap up early. And a quick reminder, they only accept cash or checks. In Fairbanks, one farm is proving you don't need electricity to keep produce cool, just a little ingenuity and a lot of permafrost.
At Spinach Creek Farm, vegetables are stored in a Connex box buried 4 feet underground, a low-cost, natural way to preserve crops using only the Arctic chill. Alex Bengal shows us how in this week's Arctic Gardens.
Buried 4 feet into the ground, a Connex container at Spinach Creek Farm serves as its cold storage container.
The cooling is entirely passive. The soil under our feet here is really quite cold, obviously.
The natural cold temperature of the ground serving to cool the facility, helped by ground banked up at the sides and 3 layers of hay bales on the roof for insulation. A ramp leads down into the facility, which keeps cool temperatures during the summer, getting warmer as the season goes on.
It gets a little too warm for ideal storage, but then as fall progresses, it cools right back down.
Here, carrots, potatoes, broccoli, cauliflower, and more can be stored long-term without the cost of artificial cooling. According to co-owner Pete Mayo, a cellar which is buried deeper would have both benefits and drawbacks.
You know, if you buried it farther down, you'd have a more stable temperature down there, but you'd also be hauling everything up that many more feet of ramp.
And Mayo says ground temperatures even colder than his can be found across the 49th state, especially on north slopes of hills. Taking advantage of the Arctic environment to keep produce from your garden fresh at a lower cost. Alex Bengal, Alaska's news source.
And you'll definitely want to see this week's Web Extra. Check it out, Dancing Carrots. After 60 hours of time-lapse footage condensed into just 58 seconds, you can watch these root veggies twist, turn, and even seem to nod off at night. The full video is in the Arctic Gardens section of our website and on our free streaming platforms.
It might surprise you, but one of the first skills new firefighters at Anchorage learn has nothing to do with flames.
They just clip in to this bar, just like that.
The latest Fire Academy graduates are spending their first week on the job learning how to install car seats. State data shows more than 80% of car seats checked last year were improperly installed or not installed at all. Firefighters say that's why this hands-on training is critical, because safety starts before you even hit the road.
That just means that the caregiver has tried. They may have pored over that instruction manual and used the QR code and done all that for hours. And it's just, there's these little things that we are learning in this class about how to make the seat fit the vehicle and make sure that the occupant is safe.
The department says you can visit any fire station anytime for a free car seat check, but they're also hosting a special event tomorrow from 2 to 4 at the fire training station on Airport Heights Road.
Fairbanks families spent the weekend learning how to stay safe in emergencies, both big and small. The annual Youth Safety Day included a bike rodeo to teach kids the rules of the road, along with hands-on training for earthquakes, wildfires, and other natural disasters. Parents and children also learned how to prepare for Alaska's extreme weather conditions, including how to build emergency kits and stay warm in winter conditions. Organizers say the goal is simple: to make sure every child knows what to do in a moment of danger, because these skills could someday save a life.
You see those reels and everything on TikTok or whatever, where you have a 2-year-old calling 911 and knowing all that stuff. So teaching kids at a young age could be a matter of life and death for a family member if they're in trouble and they're home alone with their child and they have something that unexpectedly happens.
Kids in attendance also receive free bike helmets.
You've been listening to the Alaska's News Source podcast. Subscribe to have the latest episodes delivered to your library automatically.